New York Film Academy, working together with the Abu Dhabi Authority for Culture and Heritage and the Middle East Film Festival, are all very pleased, and in particular with the contribution of Mohammed Bawaja, your classmate, to bring Paul Schrader here to give these classes, these two master classes for you.
The screenwriter is always one of those persons who gets forgotten, unfortunately. But there are a couple of names that you remember, and as a film student, there are names that you aspire to. And Paul is one of those names. To see films such as Raging Bull, Taxi Driver, that have literally changed cinema as a screenwriter, his was the work that I would look up to and study. And to this day, and for future generations, there are other film students who will study those films and aspire to that level of expertise. I'd like to welcome Paul to New York Film Academy. I'd like to thank him again for this this seminar that he will be giving, and can you please give him a warm welcome.
What I'm going to do this morning is just sort of go through the class in a short way through the 10 weeks, the 10 classes, and give you a kind of condensed, synopsized version of that screenwriting class. The method I'm going to talk about may not, in fact, be as useful to you as it has been to me. But even if it isn't, it's a very valuable way of seeing screenwriting, even if it doesn't really apply to what you do or what you want to do. It's a good way to think about storytelling. And I think it's a valuable experience for the students who have been in the classes. The first class, I just invite everyone in the school to come. And you usually get a pretty big room of people, and you give a lecture. Basically, the theme of the lecture is that art is functional. Art actually works. And that you can use art in a very practical way, just like tools on a tool belt, and that artifice is your tool, your hammer, your saw, and that you can use art, in this case storytelling, as a form of self-therapy. Now, I came into screenwriting for the best of all possible reasons. I came into it as self-therapy. Just a little background. I was a film critic in Los Angeles. I'd written a book of film aesthetics, and a number of things went wrong in my life at the same time. Marriage fell apart, and another relationship fell apart. I didn't have any money. I was going to the AFI the very first year it opened, and I started a movement to remove the head of the institute, which resulted, of course, in mine being removed. And so I was really without any place. And I took to sort of driving around a lot. This was Los Angeles. And I had a pain in my stomach. And I went to the hospital. I had an ulcer. I was about 25. And when I was in the hospital, I realized I hadn't spoken to anybody in weeks. I had just been sort of living in my car, and I'd been going to adult theaters because they were open all night, and you could sleep there. So I'd been basically just drinking and driving and watching porn. And when I was in the hospital, this metaphor occurred to me. This idea of the taxi cab, this steel box, this steel coffin floating through the sewers of the city, and this man trapped inside of it, who is seemingly in the middle of society, but in fact is completely alone. And when I got out of the hospital, I wrote that script quite quickly, and I wrote it for self-therapy. I think I wrote 2 drafts in 10 days, and I wrote them continuously. I moved into a friend's house and just slept on the sofa. Wrote, slept, wrote, slept. At that time, I was still sort of drinking, and I had to mix the scotch with the Maalox. Maalox is a big milky thing you take for ulcers. So it was, and that sort of ended up in the script of Taxi Driver too, with his brandy and his milk being put together. For me, it was scotch and Maalox. I wrote that script to exercise and to get this character outside of me. I was afraid that this character, this Travis Bickle guy, was going to become me. And if I didn't create him, he would start to create me. The point of the story is that my point of entry into the whole notion of screenwriting wasn't to make money, wasn't to be popular or famous or to get girls. My point of entry was to somehow deal with this thing inside me. And so my method of screenwriting follows from that. And it still works for me. It worked again this year. We'll get to that later. So, in this class, I tell the students that if storytelling is therapy, then you
Good Sharon. We're going to get back. Sorry.
Then you, in fact, are the raw material. The movies are not about other movies. They're always in some way about you. And in fact, this is very useful and very commercial in a way, because let's say you have an idea, I'm going to write Die Hard 6. Well, who's going to hire you to write Die Hard 6? I got people to write Die Hard 6. But you do have one thing that no one else has, which is you have your own life, your own experiences. And if you can find an original perspective on yourself, then in fact you have a way into this business, because you're not copying anybody. You're not saying, please give me a job, I can be just like so-and-so. No, you're saying, lucky you, here I am, I have something unique, and if you're lucky, I'll give it to you. So it's a different kind of perspective. It's less of a beggar's kind of perspective on how to get into this business. And if in fact you are the raw material for this, then we need to know what your problems are. And everyone at any given time is carrying around a number of issues they're dealing with, a number of problems, such as the one in Taxi Driver, which was loneliness.